Says I'm live. Hello, everyone. It is Monday, the 2nd of June, 2025. I took a break yesterday. Well, I guess it wasn't really a break because I had to do my lawn, which is like 5 acres, and there's so much to do and other things. And yeah, anyway, here are some of my posts from Instagram and X before I get into this really interesting video. It's not a long one, but this is just, again, more with someone I follow. And I'm not sure if he follows me too, to be honest with you. I don't even care. But this is Sergeant Retired Mike Rood, and he has been part of the Methlequin mass tort. My God, look, pretty much since the beginning. But I want to see what this has to say about him. Yeah, so Sergeant Retired Mike Rood is a Canadian Army combat veteran who has been a relentless advocate for the veteran community and Methlequin awareness. And he just did the Rood Awakening tour. He's been all over Canada and spreading awareness. And he's even met up with like major politicians. And so yeah, check him out. And some that's also part of the Methlequin mass tort that since at least 2017 period, maybe 2018, but I think 2017 has been trying to sue the government, the crown, whatever you want to call it, to in order to not have it where soldiers are forced to take inoculations or therapeutics, essentially be the test, like the trial, like the people trialing inoculations before the general public, even when they're even when they're banned from other countries. I don't know why it's not letting me play volume. Maybe there's no volume.
The day I shipped out, they numbered a dozen. Upon my return, we're 100 or so. From the coast and from the prairies, I bet they keep coming. Add one more name from Ontario and carry me home down the highway of heroes.
McKay died on my tour.
People above with the flags flying low. Carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love, there was never more. I serve with distinction, no visions of glory. I serve without question, of personal gain. Seek no justification, it's not part of my story. And it offers no comfort to the ones who remain. Just carry me home down the highway of heroes. People above, the flags flying low. Carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love, there was never more. Took up my vocation, I was called by my nation without hesitation. My answer I gave. Now I'm not wondering the things that I might have been are no consolation to the forgotten brave. So carry me home down the highway of heroes.
I knew him well. Chad O'Quinn went to CMR RMC with him. And then he went from being an officer, didn't complete that program, and just wild.
Flags flying low, carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love, there was never more. Carry me home down the highway of heroes. People I love with their hands down low. Carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love, there was never more. There was never more.
Johnny Snyder.
Never more.
Yeah, I took over his platoon.
There was never.
Charlie Company 70. Wow, sorry, Charlie Company 7 platoon, 1 VP. He was like I had taken over his platoon because he was going overseas, and with another company, and he left a Canadian flag in the office for me that said "Canadian girls kick ass."
More. There was never more. There was never more.
That was good. Oh, this is what I've been talking about for years as well. Oh my goodness, people.
Right.
Okay, so this is regarding the masks, whether they are actually safe and effective, the ones that we were wearing, and talking about the not even just like the buildup of bacteria and like things that could be within the mask itself, but the microplastics as well that were found deep within people's chest cavities.
Like as he did, right? Underneath and try and keep it, that feels pretty tight right there, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you can, just breathe naturally. Let's just see what happens. Okay. All right, so we're at 1,367. We've already just passed 2.
Wow.
So now we're in the place where he can be having headaches. He can be, we're at 3,786. Look at this. We've just passed 5,000. Now we're in the toxic level. Right now we can be doing this 7,000 inside this mask with the CO2, 8,000 parts per million. And now this thing's gone off the Richter scale, folks. It can't even register how high the CO2 levels are inside. And look how many seconds that was.
Yeah.
This right, like as he.
Yeah, dizziness, headaches. That was very common. Oh, Canada.
Turns out the Prime Minister was telling the truth when he said he was.
This is Andrew Lawton. If you're listening to this, not watching, he has been great on a lot of things. There's some things that he shares or says that obviously I'm not in agreement with, but that's not so much his fault as in the information he's getting from mainstream media, legacy media, and people within the House of Commons that are they're lying to us.
Is different from Justin Trudeau. He's actually worse. This week, the Prime Minister introduced his first spending bill called the Main Estimates for the coming year. It's a $500 billion spending bill with no budget. He promised to cap spending increases to 2%, but then 1 hour later stuck Canadians with an 8% spending hike, nearly 3 times larger than inflation and population growth combined. Single moms, seniors, and small business owners have to budget before they spend. Why doesn't the Prime Minister? This all from the guy who said he was the man with the plan and would be a strong fiscal manager. The Prime Minister will claim these are investments that will make Canadians better off, but the only ones getting richer are government consultants who will get a record-breaking $26.1 billion this.
And these consultants, these international consultants, or the ones that are using like McKinsey and others, a lot in Ottawa, they are not doing their jobs. They are stealing money. There's a lot of kickbacks and oversight, not enough oversight, rather, sorry. And I had volunteered. I'm incorporated. I have my clearances, all of that stuff. And if you look at what I had to share publicly, including doxing myself, the consultants that they're using, they're not it. So they need to be hiring consultants like myself and people that I know, instead of these numpties that they keep on using that are $26 billion. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And these people are not helping. They're not helping. I'm telling you this for a fact. I've already named a lot of these consulting companies, including people, unfortunately, that I know, or know of or have worked with or around within the same communities. And I've been calling them out as well because they are bullshitting us. They're using their social media platforms to propagandize people, whether they realize it or not. And also, I can only imagine what's being shared and said within their networks, right? Including the cybersecurity, intelligence communities, etc. And there are whistleblowers like me within all of these organizations, and I keep sharing their information as well. And I hope that these people start getting protected and supported and enabled, because it's necessary for one thing. And and I was left out on my own as a whistleblower for years, and it would be nice if even myself, if I would start getting a little bit more protection and support for what I've shared already. Even anyway, I'll
this
take those
year.
contracts.
That's even 36% more than what Trudeau gave them. Mr. Speaker, that's $1,400 from every Canadian household going to federal government consultants. Brookfield shareholders wouldn't have stood for this, so why should... Turns out the Prime Minister was telling the truth when he said he was different from Justin Trudeau. He's actually...
Oh, yes. Okay, so this might be one of the most actually, I'll just see if I'm on. Yeah, okay, good. So this is from Ron Chinzer. I don't know how you pronounce that. This might be one of the most outrageous judicial outcomes in recent memory, and it sets a dangerous precedent. In a case that should have been open and shut, we watched common sense get overruled by ideology. Here's what happened. This is friggin' Canada. A Peel Regional Police officer, so Toronto, was on patrol when his onboard system flagged a vehicle. The alert indicated that the registered owner had a suspended license and outstanding drug charges. The officer, who is South Asian, didn't target anyone. He responded to real-time data exactly as he's trained to do. He pulled the vehicle over, confirmed the driver was the registered owner, and arrested him for driving while suspended. That's not just legal, it's expected and responsible policing. Before towing the vehicle, officers conducted a standard inventory search, as is routine when a vehicle is being impounded. It's done to protect property, avoid liability, and ensure no weapons or dangerous items are left behind. During that search, they found a loaded, illegal handgun hidden under the debris in the back of the Jeep. That should have been the end of it. Suspended license, outstanding charges, illegal firearm, lawful stop, lawful arrest. Instead, Ontario Superior Court Justice, a Superior Court Justice, Renu J. Manhane, should be publicly shamed, should have your whatever, everything revoked, your certifications revoked, like just completely disbarred. I don't know what you do, but just like out of the friggin' system. No more taxpayers' money going to this clown. And yeah, so anyways, Ontario Superior Court Justice Renu J. Manhane threw it all out. She ruled that the stop, search, and arrest were tainted by systemic racism, because earlier that same day, the officers didn't handcuff a white woman during a separate traffic stop. Based solely on that comparison, the court found the officers' actions towards the black male driver were racially biased. Oh my God. So what was this traffic stop for this white chick where she needed to be handcuffed and arrested? Was it because like maybe her tail light was out? Maybe she was, it could be something so minor. Maybe she like was going like 5-10 kilometers over the speed. It could be anything. But of course, so as a result, the evidence was excluded. The man caught with a loaded gun walked free. Justice Manhane was appointed to the bench in 2020. Wow. By the Honorable, who's not Honorable, David Lemeni, who I've called out before multiple times, who is a liar, a propagandist, and who's guilty of treason at the highest levels. And so cool. So Justice Manhane, this clown, this absolute DEI woke clown, if this person watches this, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you'll use the whole friggin' arm of the crown to try to bury me, but I don't give a shit, because again, I've been calling these people out now for years, knowing the risks. So anyways, the dishonorable David Lemeni, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada under the Liberal government. Before her appointment, she served as the Chief Commissioner of the Ontario Human Rights Commission. Oh my God. Where she led inquiries into systemic discrimination and became widely known for her advocacy for marginalized groups, including prisoners with mental health issues. Excuse me. She sounds a lot like Jenny Carignan, Chief of Defense Staff in the military, who was like literally just part of these boards that were like doing witch hunts and trying to paint the Canadian Armed Forces as some kind of systemically racist, sexist melting pot, whatever you want to call it, of racism and sexism, and again, not the case. Peel Regional Police was one of the most diverse leadership teams in the country. As a former Peel officer, I can personally attest to the service's zero-tolerance approach to racism and discrimination. Peel Police is a national leader in community outreach and engagement, particularly with marginalized, racialized, and newcomer communities. That's not a slogan. It's embedded into their recruitment, training, and daily operations. As if Bill C-75's catch and release bail reform wasn't already disastrous, this is the kind of mentality the Liberal government is actively installing at the highest tables of justice, where ideology overrides evidence and personal politics overrides public safety. This is why police officers are leaving the profession, and I can confirm that as well, because I know people that I've worked with that were serving, they were whistleblower types or sharing information about people within their chain of command that were absolutely pushing this woke, DEI ideology, and they got out. And these people were really high-ranking, incredible men and women, but actually mostly men. Anyway, this is why fewer people are stepping up to serve. This is why violent crime is on the rise. We're not just handcuffing criminals, we're handcuffing our police. And we're doing it in the name of ideology, not justice. This isn't progress, it's not equity, it's a complete abandonment of common sense, and it's putting every single Canadian at risk. And I could not believe more with, I could not agree more with this man. Okay. I have done a lot of videos on what's gone on within the Middle East and Israel and Palestine, so I highly encourage people to take a look at my videos from that time frame and see what I was sharing. Witness accounts, hostage accounts, people within government calling things out. You'll get both. You'll get all sides. You'll get the like people from within Israel. You'll get people from within Palestine. People from within so many different areas sharing information that the mainstream media and politicians were not sharing at all, and completes a completely different narrative that still needs to be addressed.
Either Netanyahu was aware, and I, I'm not going to allege that right now.
General Flynn, you don't have to. Netanyahu was absolutely aware, and he knew, and he was part of staging and planning this, and calling people to not respond, and there were even warnings of this from Egypt and other countries saying that this was going to happen, and even I was saying that there was possibly something that was going to be kicked off in and around that area in 2023 because of Netanyahu becoming the leader again on my friggin' birthday of 2022, 29th of December, and yeah, he's been involved in a lot of the staged and planned events that have caused a lot of harm and death throughout the world. And so if people think that this guy is it, then I hate to break it to you, he's not.
Now, his Southern Zone, I have called to this, his Southern Zone commander, the commander of the IDF, and the commander or the leader of his intelligence forces, they should all be removed from those positions pending the outcome of a major serious investigation to determine what caused the breakdown of security on the 7th of October. Because now, fast forward to, we're getting ready to go into the third month of this thing. Doesn't look like it has any happy ending, and it looks like it's going to go on. And we have all kinds of weapon systems being used against U.S. forces now throughout that region. So this thing is getting really bad, and it's because there was a decision made to have a security stand down on the 7th of October for 7 hours on the southern zone of Israel up against the fence line of Gaza Strip. And I'm telling you, folks, that wasn't done out of happenstance. That's not a coincidence. Somebody made that decision. Don't know whether it's Netanyahu that made it, the southern zone commander who made it. Somebody made it.
It was both.
Because there's no way in the world for the security breakdown that the Israelis had on that day.
And General Flynn, you were telling me when we were eating lunch that you've been there. You've been given tours. You've been up on the towers.
I've walked it. I know what their intelligence, I know what their security system is made of. And I know that the levels that they go through, they have multiple layers of defenses. They have multiple layers of electronic detection systems. They have drones. They have balloons. They have people watching them from all sorts of cameras. It is one of the most secure borders in the world, if not the most.
So this is a major scandal.
Oh, it's a huge scandal, and that's why I say, like, we we've got to fight this war, and we've got to figure out, we got to be very careful about we don't get dragged into something that we don't want. And there is a lot of people in Washington, D.C., the Uniparty, that wants us to just have this endless war where it's just a big racket of war, and they make a lot of money, and they make a lot of money off the U.S. taxpayers.
Where do people find your...
Either Netanyahu...
Night in the hanging tree. Are you coming to the tree? Burn necklace of hope, side by side with me. Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you coming to the tree? I told you to run, so we both be free. Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.
Thousands of Irish orphans were used as to test DTaP. Horrible side effects and death and adverse, like all of that stuff. And people don't want to talk about this. This happened as well. And so everyone wants to push, like this elite class war, whatever you want to call it, as some kind of like a, there's so many distractions to keep us divided and make people think that they had it worse off throughout history than other groups and stuff like that. This is intentional. And it's not just one group that's that's experienced crimes against humanity, that have experienced atrocities, that have experienced trauma and slavery and so many other things that people want to completely ignore.
Coming to the tree, they strung up a man. They say we were free. Strange things that happen here. Stranger would we met at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you coming to the tree? And call for
it's absolutely disgusting. Yeah, so Soros, Fauci, Gates, all these people need to be in jail. Jail!
Largest fentanyl lab in the world. It was not in China. It was not in Mexico. It was in Vancouver. Now, fortunately, it was closed down last November, but that shows you the Chinese influence in that city.
Wow.
And, just to give you one reason why Americans should be concerned, Justin Trudeau allowed Canadian soil to be used by hostile elements as a staging ground for assault on America. In U.S. federal fiscal 2024, which ended on September 30, 2024, the number of people apprehended on the terrorist watch list coming in from Mexico was 155. Even though the number of people coming in from Canada was far smaller than coming in from Mexico, the number on the terrorist watch list from Canada was 358 in fiscal 2024, which shows you the problems that we have with our neighbor to our north, because I'm in the States. Largest fentanyl lab in the world. It was not in China. It was not in Mexico. It was in Vancouver.
And so on that, I'm just trying to compare here. Because he had said that it was the biggest drug bust, but I like to be thorough. And so RCMP bust drug super lab sees 485 million in fentanyl and meth. This was from 7 months ago. BC RCMP say officers have taken down Canada's largest, most sophisticated drug super lab. Police seized drugs and drug materials worth almost $500 million. Let's see what else they say. So this is February 27th, 2025. Okay. So they're talking about On January 3rd, 2025, the RCMP's Transnational Serious and Organized Crime seized over 5 kilograms of narcotics, drug paraphernalia, more than $120,000 worth of Canadian in cash and other proceeds of crime, including luxury watches and precious metals, from the accused residence in Mississauga. Ooh, Mississauga, Ontario. Interesting. Matthew Fawn. Yeah, so drugs, fentanyl, these labs in Canada. We know who to look at. So I don't necessarily know if that was the largest. I'm just going to get into the DEA. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi joined DEA leadership and the men and women of the DEA El Paso Field Division on Tuesday, May 6, 2025, to announce the single largest seizure of fentanyl pills in DEA history. So this is a very interesting number. But the Albuquerque District Office seized 2.7 million fentanyl pills in New Mexico's largest city versus 16 individuals. So while also dismantling one of the largest and most dangerous drug trafficking organizations in U.S. history. Yeah, so it seems very comparable, but I don't know. Look at this. Yeah, so this looks like more. Because for Canada, it was like approximately 500 million and 8 kilograms of drugs. And so you have here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So there was more U.S. currency than the Canadian currency that was found, which is, I think, 120,000. 49 firearms, some with switches and some ghost guns. Yeah. Oh, by the way, like these gun restrictions that people have, like the more you restrict legal gun owners, the more the criminals win, just to be clear. And that's even been also spoken out more against by people that are liberal and democratic. Like the people are saying, we were wrong about gun control laws. It seems that the more gun control there is in areas, it's not protecting the innocent civil, like people, it's actually protecting the criminals and allowing them to flourish in areas as well. So yeah, look at this. 11.5 kilograms of fentanyl powder. Jesus. 396 kilograms of fentanyl pills. Okay, so like not even close to Canada. So this is where he was a bit incorrect with saying that it was the largest drug bust in the world. It was most likely in Canada. Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah. Anyway, back to social media. I don't know why I said it like that. So elbows up, Canada. Oh.
Unfortunately, it was
people within government. So actually a senator, I wish our senators would speak up and tell the truth, but this is an Australian senator, Malcolm Roberts. Actually, I know that even the appetite to hear this information, even 6 months ago, was not there. The appetite was not there. People were shutting this down. Oh, you're a conspiracy theory. As soon as you talk about WEF and their involvement in this agenda, to basically collapse societies, it was completely shut away, right? People were agent smithing themselves from the Matrix, absolutely shutting it down, refusing to listen. But this is interesting.
World Economic Forum launched their social media campaign in 2018 carrying the slogan, "You'll own nothing and be happy." I thought, finally, the predatory billionaires who try to run the world had shown their hand. The public can finally see their fate if the World Economic Forum are allowed to succeed. That didn't happen. The media, who have the same owners as the World Economic Forum, persisted with calling the World Economic Forum's evil agenda a conspiracy theory. Even in this place, there are only a handful of senators with the courage to call out the agenda for what it is: economic exploitation and social control. Over the break, the World Economic Forum revealed another aspect of their plan when they launched a campaign against laundry. Yes, really, laundry. Jeans should not be washed more than once a month. Most other clothes once a week. You will wear dirty clothes and be smelly, apparently, and happy. The temptation is to laugh at their desire to control even mundane aspects of our lives, yet the truth is much more frightening than that. The World Economic Forum have now turned their evil agenda to food. The campaign against farming is really a campaign against one of the necessities of life: food. Predatory billionaires, parasitic billionaires, owning near-urban intensive production facilities, producing food-like substances for the masses, forcing the public into acceptance to the World Economic Forum's fake global warming scam. These are their own stated motives. Control food, control people. Who controls the food supply controls the people. Who controls the energy can control whole continents. Who controls money can control the world. The World Economic Forum and the predatory billionaires they represent are currently trying to do all.
Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, the EU, the WEF, the World Health Organization, these philanthropic organizations like the Rockefeller Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Bill Gates Foundation, the Open Society Foundation that's run by George Soros types. These foundations are corrupted to the bone right now. These could have been very useful, but they're not. We out of Canada, like Justin Trudeau's we scandals, like there's more to it.
All three. When the World Economic Forum launched their social media campaign in 2018 carrying the slogan, "You will own nothing and be happy," I thought, finally, the predatory billionaires who try to run the world had shown their hand. The public can finally see their fate if the World Economic Forum are allowed to succeed. That didn't happen. The media, who have the same owners as the World Economic Forum, persisted with calling the World Economic Forum's evil agenda a conspiracy theory. Even in this place, there are only a handful of senators with the courage to call out the agenda for what it is: economic exploitation and social control. Over the break, the World Economic Forum revealed another aspect of their plan when they launched a campaign against laundry. Yes, really.
He's a Democrat.
So, Mr. Speaker.
Yep, so this was very interesting. It's just good to hear and nice to hear people on the other side of the political spectrum actually making sense. And so I like to share more of that to show that, like, again, like we should try to establish common ground.
For us, and I pause because my colleagues are walking out as I give this speech. People are clapping in the gallery for their walking out. And Mr. Speaker, I think that illustrates exactly why I got up here today. I could have quietly voted my conscience, could have followed the party line. But Mr. Speaker, again, the consent of one person cannot stand for the consent of another. And just because one person is comfortable with a transgender woman being in the bathroom with them or playing sports with them or being in a prison with them doesn't mean that another woman is. And these issues do not have to cause violence. These conversations can be nuanced, and we can have conversations about treating each other with respect and humanity, and putting in place policies that say that women who were born women deserve a space to themselves, whether that be the bathroom or sports or the locker room or prisons, is not transphobic. And there are people in my town, there are people throughout the country who are liberal, left-leaning people who agree with what I just said here, but some of them won't vote with me here. Some of them, in fact, have left the party in my town. There was just a woman last week who left my party because she felt not only was she not being heard, but she felt like there was no way for her to even speak up about this position. And given how many people are still in their seats, I can understand why. The orthodoxy of the Democratic Party on this issue has left us to where we can't have nuanced discussions, and women are being silenced in this conversation. As much as people don't want to hear that, that is what is happening. And when I talked to people on this side of the issue and this side of the issue, I heard, I don't want any violence to happen against me. I don't want to be disrespected or unheard. I heard that from transgender individuals, and I heard that from women. So, Mr. Speaker, I think HB 148, legislation which enables localities, municipalities, and businesses to put in place specific policies around definitions of sex, is not a right-wing fascist Nazi movement like I've been told that it is. I was called a Nazi for the prospect of giving this speech. So, Mr. Speaker.
He's a literal Democrat. Very well spoken, very well presented. I mean, look what he's wearing. Like, this guy, like, is a rock star. Like, he might be exactly what the Democrats need right now to represent them. Someone that's not insane, like, respectfully speaking. So I did this poll this morning because I was just interested in what the Epoch Times would come back with. And so this is regarding Canada. And so I thought this would be interesting for people to see. I don't know the bias with Epoch Times. I'm assuming it's more neutral because I got people from the left and right sharing stuff to me from them. But anyway, so current survey results, and I highly encourage people to go and vote if you're Canadian. But after this federal election, do you think Canada is moving in a better direction? You'll see here that it looks like 61% of Canadians do not believe that Canada is moving in a better direction. 61%. So that's wow. How confident are you in the new government's ability to manage Canada-US trade relations? Again, 70% of Canadians are somewhat confident or not confident or unsure, not confident at all, or not very confident. So 70% of people. In your view, what should be the top 3 priorities for the new government to address immediately? And so we'll see here. Is it going down? Yeah, okay. So first on the list for Canadians that they voted for was the economy. Number 2 is cost of living. And they have this wrong. I don't know why they put housing affordability here. Are they still trying to push housing because people like Mark Carney and his clown staff, they profit from what they're pushing regarding these modular homes and 500,000 homes a year in Canada. Again, this is not the answer, ladies and gentlemen. And it's going to collapse Canada further. But anyway, and so cost of living, and then it was health care and wait times, Canada-US trade talks, national debt and government spending, energy policies, public safety and crime, immigration was 18%. I don't know why they have it down here when it should be further up, especially above income tax cuts and stuff like that. Freedom of speech and civil liberties and other, please specify. So I said, I'll be transparent. I said the economy, from what I remember. Let me see what else. National debt and government spending, and immigration. That's what I put. So below are some of the key policy commitments Prime Minister Mark Carney announced during, I just want to see if the volume is on. Okay, good. During the election campaign. Which of these do you consider the most important priorities for Canada right now? And so, having nothing to do with Trump, remove interprovincial trade barriers. 76% of Canadians. Policy commitments that Mark Carney made consider the most important for Canadians. This is really high. Cancel the capital gains tax hike. This is also high. And so I did put cancel the capital gains hike. Look here, build 500,000 affordable homes per year. No. Make Canada an energy superpower. Reduce federal spending growth. I put that one in there. Increase CBC funding by 150 million. No. Why do we don't want that? We want the opposite of that. Boost foreign aid, invest $4 billion in building healthcare facilities. Increase carbon tax on industry. Why? Invest $6.8 billion in national infrastructure, rail, ports, energy. I put that one in as well. Let's get to choose 3. And now looking at the same list, which do you think are the least necessary for Canada right now? So the least increase CBC funding by 150 million. 57% of Canadians are saying that this is the least important, the least necessary. So people wake up. Boost foreign aid by at least 800 million a year. So again, this is also something that people are less favorable in doing. And increase carbon tax on industry, least. Expand EV charging networks and restore 5,000 rebate, least. So that's very interesting. Yeah. The new government plans to add over 130 billion in new spending in the next 4 years to address major national challenges, including new defense spending, housing, and tax cuts. This tax cuts. You're increasing taxes by 130 billion, and you're saying it's this is silly to me. So this will increase Canada's federal debt significantly by 225 billion. How do you see this approach? So 22% of Canadians say it's necessary. Canada needs this. It's like 78% of Canadians are saying it's not necessary. And so wake up. The majority of Canadians are saying that it's not necessary. So the goal may be right, but the spending should be more restrained, 20%. I'm concerned we can't afford this level of debt. That's what I put. The goal sounds noble, but this much debt risks long-term damage. Only 11% in the category of I'm not sure, I need more information, or other. But again, the large majority of Canadians are saying don't do this. How do you feel about the future of Canada after this election? 68% are cautiously optimistic or feel defeated, and only 32% of Canadians have hope for the future. So optimistic, there's a chance for real progress. Only 32% of Canadians. And then if you add all these others up, it's cautiously optimistic, hoping things improve, but skeptical, concerned, uncertain of the direction we're heading in. And 35%, more than optimistic, defeated, losing faith in the country's ability to improve. So not good. How would you rate the Canadian media's coverage of the federal election and on the most pressing issues facing Canada today? Only 11% said excellent, informative and balanced, good, generally fair with some gaps, 26%. So you got 37% here. And then average, some coverage but lacking depth. Poor, so the large majority of people put poor, too biased or shallow, 46%. 46%. So anyway, unsure. I didn't follow the media coverage closely. So again, like a smart 4% here. So again, that was very interesting. I hope it was to you as well. So this was from May 30th from Sam Cooper. Trudeau government unlawfully halted CSIS foreign operation, endangering officers and damaging Canada's standing with allies, review finds. So Ottawa, an explosive intelligence review indicates that senior political actors surrounding Prime Minister Justin Trudeau unlawfully intervened in a high-risk Canadian security intelligence service operation targeting foreign threats abroad in coordination with allied nations, a politicized act that placed Canadian operatives in immediate danger and inflicted lasting damage on the country's international reputation and trust among intelligence partners. According to the redacted report released Thursday by the National Security and Intelligence Review Agency, NSIRA, the order to halt the operation was the result of political level discussions and first came from the National Security and Intelligence Advisor to the Prime Minister to the Director of CSIS. This chain of command suggests the halt originated in the Prime Minister's office, not from the CSIS Director or Public Safety Minister as required under the CSIS Act. The latest blow to Canada's intelligence integrity, suggesting the inappropriate politicization of national security operations, comes amid growing tensions with key allies. In recent months, senior Trump administration official Peter Navarro reportedly raised the possibility of removing Canada from the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, the historic intelligence sharing partnership founded among allied nations during the Second World War. Again, I've been warning this was going to happen for years now. I think that there's people that are also plants within the American Five Eyes community as well. And but ours absolutely can't be trusted at this point. If you want to work with someone within Canadian, what if you want to call it the intelligence community, I don't know. Let me know. And so this is frustrating as well because it was Menenchino that was a public safety officer, and I've called him out because this guy has repeatedly lied in the House of Commons in Parliament, and he's been called out for it. But again, this has not gotten traction. Talking about employing tanks on innocent civilians with who? David Lametti, the guy that appointed that friggin' Superior Court judge in Canada to be a woke ideologist. I just can't even believe this is happening still. Like, I can't believe these people are not in jail, and these people are still literally working within our government. And Marco Mendicino, I'm not tracking if he accepted the chief of staff in the interim until another one is appointed. But this guy needs to be arrested on treason. And I don't know if we have any RICO rules here that could be put on him and his wife. And so, would you trust this information going to Marco Mendicino anyways, right? Because he was literally just as corrupt as Justin Trudeau, pushing the same bullshit and also lying to us consistently, and also declaring the Emergency Act, which was deemed unconstitutional and unlawful, which was I was saying even before they declared it. And I have multiple emails where I'm emailing this clown, sharing information with him, and so they can't be trusted. These are actual criminals. And of course, they're not getting, investigated properly. Why? Because they're lawyers. They're buddy with other major lawyer firms throughout Canada, especially out of Toronto and Vancouver, and Ottawa to varying degrees, but not as much as Toronto and then Vancouver, flying them in. And then they have judges that are appointed by them. So what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? And they keep on selecting the judges and the legal teams for the prosecution and the defense that are only going to help them. And we even saw that during the Emergency Act hearings that were weeks and weeks long, where they were even lying under oath or refusing to answer questions under oath that would make them complicit in staging and planning events during the Freedom Convoy. Marco, Christia. And so there were people. So Alan Trednick, a retired CSIS senior operations officer with over 30 years of experience in foreign and domestic operations, said the case reflects a disturbing pattern of political interference under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's team. Again, his team, which is still in place. Mark Carney was part of that team. He was the financial advisor during the 2020 COVID pandemic. He was unprecedented in previous Canadian administrations. And yeah, it's just wild that we're allowing this guy to still walk in Parliament and not be wearing a yellow jumpsuit.
Canada has fallen to dead last in economic growth among industrialized nations. The world looks at us like we've lost our minds. We have the most abundant and accessible natural resources of any country on earth, and yet we landlock them, sell what we do produce to a single customer to the south of us, while enabling polluting dictatorships to eat our lunch. For Albertans, these attacks on our province by our own federal government have become unbearable. As I said, these policies have cost Albertans roughly $500 billion in investment, and that loss is growing daily. It has and will continue to cost hundreds of thousands of jobs, robbing countless Albertans and other Canadians of their means of providing for their families. It has cost us a decade of opportunities and tens of billions in lost royalties that could have been invested in the health, education, infrastructure, and social services Albertans and Canadians need. And what's worse, Ottawa continues onward with more destructive policies. They've imposed net zero mandates on our natural gas-based power grid, causing investment in reliable generation from natural gas to flee, thereby endangering the future stability of our power grid and risking future blackouts and spikes in electricity costs for Alberta families and businesses. They've attacked our food producers with methane taxes, onerous regulations on fertilizer, electric vehicle mandates, and many other destructive.
The carbon taxes alone destroyed so many food plants, food processing plants, agriculture, you name it. So even when I was in New Brunswick, I did some work at a potato factory for McCain's, which does the McDonald's French fries. But anyways, I was helping a friend. I was earning my keep, so to speak. And so on the assembly line doing potatoes, and then they were getting to talking about just how much more money they were paying a month because of carbon taxes. This was in the thousands of dollars where they're actually where they may have to shut down even now. They're still like they couldn't even manage the debt. And so and this is across Canada. I've talked about this. I've literally driven to the Yukon and back to Ottawa, PEI and back, far east Quebec as you can possibly go and back, all over the place. And people are saying the same things. So even how I voted during that poll from the Epoch Times, it seems like the majority of people are in agreement with me, and so it's just showing you just how biased the media is making this seem as well, making it seem like this is what the majority of Canadians want and voted for. It's absolutely not the case, and we don't want that, and we want CBC defunded, and we want exactly what Premier Danielle Smith is talking about.
She was 13 years old. He was 47. And a Rolling Stone. 80s excess bar 47. Unfortunately, Mandy's story has been lost to history, or at least contained to this $1,400 out-of-print, impossible-to-find memoir. Until now. I tracked it down. I have it. I would never do that to you guys. It's called It's All Over Now. Seduced at 13, married at 19, divorced at 21, My Life with a Rolling Stone. In the book, Mandy Smith talks about how she was just 13 years old when she and her 15-year-old sister started going to local clubs and bars in London. One night, a bouncer gives her a ticket to sit in the audience of a music award show, and that's how she meets Bill Wyman, who plays the bass in the Rolling Stones. The year is 1984. She is 13 years old. Her sister's 15 years old. Bill Wyman's 47, and he knows exactly how old both of them are. But this does not put him off. He's like, hey, I want to introduce you to my friend who runs a modeling agency. And then after you meet with him, you can come have lunch with me. She said that he was super polite. He was the perfect gentleman, and he was nothing untoward happened on their first couple of dates. Because right off the bat, he ingratiates himself to her, her sister, and her mom. At one point, she invites him over to dinner to meet her mother, thinking that she was going to set Bill up with her mom. And this scene, honestly, is haunting. Quote, over coffee, because he was lost without a cigarette to hold, he began to play with the cardboard and wrapping paper from the box of chocolates that he'd brought. Watching him, and by now spellbound, I realized that he was actually sculpting a pretty little doll. When he had completed this mini masterpiece, he presented it to me with a great flourish. He smiled. You're not too old to play with dolls, are you, Mandy? That night, he kisses her. They're off to the races. He invites her to his estate in the British countryside called Getting Hall. She again brings her sister. He starts bringing her to a restaurant he always goes to where he knows the owner, called Tramp. This is what Mandy says about him bringing her around to Tramp. Bill introduced me to Keith, Patty, and the others. Someone, I can't remember who, asked how old I was. I was a bit flabbergasted. Not until much later did I learn that this was always the question on everyone's lips whenever they met a new girl of Bill's. His partiality for teenage models was well known in Tramp and among his friends, so it was automatically the first question they asked. Instagram's going to cut me off. Part 2 is already up. She was 13 years old. He was 47. And a Rolling Stone. 80s exile.
Oh, it's not playing my other one. Maybe if I reload, I'm almost done. Why am I saying it like that? I don't know. Oh, this was good. A very interesting perspective by a veteran from the UK.
So this is a quick one on immigrants and why some veterans like myself get pissed off when you see young fighting aged men come over here to this country. Now, if there's a war going on in your country, in my case, my country, England, versus Taliban, let's say Afghanistan, I was willing to go and fight as a young man because I was at that age. I was young, fit, strong, healthy. Of course, I was scared. It's war. But at the same time, you know what? I'll put my life on the line for my country, my people, yourselves, right? And it almost cost me my life, as you know. I come back to a so-called safe country and feel like I'd done my bit. I did the best I could. I had to leave early, obviously, because I got blown up. But I did my bit. So it's frustrating when you see...
He got blown up. Oh, my God.
...young fighting age men who are too scared to fight come over here. Now, if you're too scared to fight and come over here, I suppose kind of fair enough, but come over here and shut your mouth then. Don't be too scared to fight. Come over here, and now you're safe after running away 2,000 or 3,000 miles from your beloved land. Now sit in the UK and start giving it all that crap, the English and all. Hang on a minute. You got a war going on where you're from, and you ran away from it, and now you're here in the UK going mad. That same energy you should take back to your country and pick up arms and start scrapping, just like we've all done. And this is why you get veterans get a bit pissed off with what we're seeing, because we're thinking, man, I was your age 10, 15, 20 years ago. And when there was a situation, in regards to my country, my homeland, my people, I picked up arms and I fought to the death. You guys ain't. Instead, you're over here in the UK, and rather than sit here quiet, you're in the UK gobbing off, giving it the big one. And that's why it's not about being
It's not,
racist.
and also people exploiting taxpayers' money within the UK. This is happening all over Western countries, unfortunately. And I know it sounds racist, but again, stats are not racist. This is objective data versus subjective statements, which the left loves to throw out their subjective statements and completely ignore objective facts. And I've talked about this before. And so coming to our countries where we're more tolerant, more developed in cases as well. And a lot of people are also coming where they're not in war zones. They're not fleeing war, right? They're overdeveloped. They're not expanding outwards into more rural areas because it's a bit harder of a life. And then working in agriculture or like any of that stuff. They're not doing any of that stuff. They're coming here and they're exploiting our resources. I'm talking about our money as well. In a lot of cases, I'm not saying all, but I'm saying there are people that are exploiting the system, and they're coming here and they're getting a lot of money and we just can't afford it. They're not integrating into our society. They're disrespecting us, all over the place, right? So even with praying all over the streets in front of city buses, etc., when even within their own religion from other countries, these people would not be accepted there, and they wouldn't be allowed to do that there, right? And people say that when you do prayer, it's not supposed to be in public areas. You should refrain from doing that. You don't want to annoy people or disrupt people, etc. when you're praying, and to do it more privately. And so these people that are doing it, like these are fake religious people. These are radicals and annoying people. Radicals, again, like there's varying degrees of radicalization, and some of it is just like doing stuff like that, right? Relatively harmless, but they're causing disruptions in the ability for even service vehicles to respond to important like even mass cast situations and stuff like that, or responding to people that need medical assistance. And even in Toronto, this literally happens. It's literally happening here, guys and girls. And so as a veteran, I do come with a different perspective because I'm like, wow, I was seeing like people within like these countries, Afghanistan included, where it used to be where there were more civil liberties and inequality, etc., and completely being overrun with people trying to enforce Sharia law. So hundreds of thousands of people, even before we got there, were being tortured. They were being oppressed. They were being murdered. They were being raped, etc., etc. Just awful things happening to people, and especially if you were gay or a woman or a child, right? And so we were going there trying to help. Okay, I'm not saying that we did help, but we tried to help. That's what we were doing there. We were trying to protect people, but it turns out, but again, we were putting more of a target on people's back too. But again, what do you do when there's already mass genocides going on and it was not stopping? It was getting worse. And so we took up arms, right? Not only to defend our own country, which was the primary objective, but also to respond internationally if there are threats that may be imposed, at a later date into our own country. And this absolutely happened anyways. And this is stuff we were warning people about, and saying you're like, especially people coming here to exploit us, right? And that there's an increase in crime. That there's so much that we have to deal with. We're even in France during that riot that just happened. I just saw a video of a couple of young women who were trying to drive through on a road, and the crowds. And again, it was a certain demographic that were completely impeding them from being able to drive. Not only that, but they also broke their friggin' windows. And I have no idea what happened after that. But these women were afraid for their lives. And again, like the window was broken, and then it looked like people were going inside the vehicle. So I really hope they were safe. And but yeah, so great perspective. And I hope I didn't offend anyone by sharing that. But it's just I think it's a really important perspective that a lot of veterans have. All right, I just want to see if my last post went through. No. Oh, well. Now for X. I'm a one-stop shop. One-stop shop.
So everything that you are seeing now here in Canada is what happened in Venezuela 20 years ago, step by step, because it's a script from communism. Simple as like that.
Oh.
seeing now here in Canada, Venezuela 20 years ago, step by step, because it's a script from communism. Simple as like that. That's all that I can say. We come from the future, basically. Every immigrant for Ecuador, Venezuela, or Colombia, we can tell you that this is messed up, 100%. Also, so everything that you
Yeah. Yeah, so I hope this judge gets fired. I really do. And I'm sure a lot of Canadians feel the same way. David Mamet didn't come to play nice. The legendary playwright, one of the few in Hollywood to openly support Donald Trump, sat down with Bill Maher on Club Random and wasted no time lighting the place up. Right out of the gate, Maher made it clear he wasn't happy with Mamet's politics, but Mamet wasn't rattled. In fact, he had a story lock and loaded that stopped Maher. Anyway, he's just basically saying that he did think that the election was stolen, essentially. And Maher said it wasn't, and then Mamet said, well, I think it was. So he doubled down on that. Just interesting. So this is the post I was sharing from Sam Cooper. Breaking Trudeau government unlawfully halted ceases foreign operations. So again, it's right here. Yeah. Breakdown by age group. I've shared this before, but I just want to reiterate. It's the 55 plus and people that are exploiting the system on like that are the ones voting liberal at this point. For change. For change. All right. I will go on to the documentary now. Very interesting. Posted from Just a Dude. I highly recommend watching his channel. It's on Rumble. You're not going to find his stuff on YouTube. If you do, it's going to be not all of his videos for sure.
Black place, man. Where you at? Black up there any farther, man. You're going right by the black place, man. Where you at? Clan. Jam to go the other way, man. Clan.
I remind you that the press, the electronic media, are giving them an awful lot of free advertising. I remind you that the Committee for Racial Equality called a press conference 2 days ago. The Committee for Racial Equality was given a few seconds, and 2 minutes were devoted to our interview with the leader of the Klan.
October 4th, 1980, Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
It is a committee of a loose alliance of over 30 organizations, all committed to struggling against racism and fascism. I am the chairperson of the Committee for Racial Equality, and my name is Louis Feldham. This rally and march is merely a kickoff in a campaign to get the Klan and fascism out of the city of Toronto.
November 8th, 1980, London, Ontario, Canada.
I'd like just briefly to remind us of the kind of people we're dealing with. Members of the committee have received phone calls anonymously threatening their lives. These are the kind of slime, the kind of reprehensible ogres and monsters and subhuman SOBs that we're dealing with. They're reprehensible cowards who advocate murder and violence in the dark.
Alexander McWhirter, National Director of the Canadian Knights of the Ku Klux Klan.
Blacks, non-whites, Jews all have particular organizations that work directly for their protection of their heritage, their rights, their culture. We, in the white race, believe we have that right also.
Of this country.
Dudley Laws, leader of the Albert Johnson Committee Against Police Brutality.
We have a duty to change society. It is our responsibility to work very hard in banning a group of individuals who have over the past 70 years have committed not less than 10,000 murders throughout the United States and Canada. And yet we hear from the Premier and from the Attorney General of this province that the Klan must commit a crime before they can be banned from this country. We are saying they have committed enough crime and they should be banned now.
These communists who attack us, who want to take away our freedom of speech, they must remember that they have been responsible for more horrendous crimes that we can bring up. 60 million white Christians were murdered as a result of the Russian Civil War and the communist takeover of the Tsarist regime. Even with this history behind the communist movement, we are not asking for their freedom of speech to be curtailed. We believe everyone should hear them for what they are.
Join the march, mass the Klan! Join the march, mass the Klan! Join the march, mass the Klan!
As a representative of the Communist Party of Canada, we are proud to be part of the organization and part of this rally.
We want to protect our culture. We want
You
to
know what? That is actually a good point. Like, I'm watching this video with you. I wanted to wait so that you can get a genuine reaction. But under communism, under communistic regimes, there has been more murder, death, and suffering at the hands, again, of under communism than under the KKK. It's not even comparable, obviously. Like even saying that again, it's and so it's fair to give that example, right? Especially if these people have committed no crimes, etc. Why should they be banned when people are still voting communism into Canada? It's ridiculous. Like, I shared that even in Nepean, I couldn't even believe it. There are thousands of people across Canada that voted communism during this election. Just to be clear, it's actually wild to me. And if anyone would have voted KKK, again, I'm not saying that this should ever be a party. I'm just to be clear, but yeah, it would be considered like a hate crime.
advance our race in terms of science, medicine, technology, our systems of laws and education, the democratic principles of which we strive for. All these things we believe are intrinsic to us as white people. Non-whites have the same opportunity to work for their interests, and I wish them well in it. We oppose the government's pro-minority, anti-white policies. We wish to see the government of this country reflect the ideals, the interests, and aspirations of the white majority. Our first objective is to become a lobbying group, to organize the white people to work for their interests and speak to the government and say, look, we have rights too.
I heard that the Klan takes care of...
Doug O'Hare, chaplain of the Canadian Knights of the Ku Klux Klan.
Once you become a member of the Klan, like any Scottish Klan, or back in the old days, in the true order of a Klan, anybody who you have accepted as a Klansman is your brother. And you look after him, his interests are your interests. Your interests are the white race and the Klan. The Klan is the white race.
November 2nd, 1980, Toronto.
Each community in this country should have the opportunity to decide whether or not they want to be a multiracial community or a white community. There'll be less sadness in this country.
I would never vote, obviously, for them to be in. I do not think that they should be in any level of government. Like, there's freedom of speech and all of that stuff, but like at a government level, absolutely not. Like, and so to give them concessions and stuff like that, like I would say the same thing for the Communist Party. Like, I'm saying that these are extreme left and right, whatever you want to call it, views. I think they're extremely discriminatory, and so even just freaking hearing that is uncomfortable to me. But anyways, I'm gonna play it out, because again, we need to hear these people's arguments before coming to any conclusions.
If non-whites can live happily among their own people without white people ramming their culture down their throats and this constant problem of integration and riots that the Americans have seen.
Canadian black nationalist Richard Dildy.
Well, I do think that black nationalism should be the main thing among blacks, because this means to organize, to become sort of a nation. And I think we need a black nation. We are a nation.
America is your nation. Canada is our nation. Regardless of race, skin color, language, all that stuff. How people are integrating within Canada in the last 5 or so years, I've said it's just too much. It's not helping anyone, not people in, not people out, and not people going through the legal immigration process. Like, there's so many backlogs now for people that actually do need to come to Canada, that are like an actual refugee and not someone that's coming here because they're exploiting the system. Again, I'm not saying it's the majority or at all, but that are also coming here under false pretenses, alleging that they're gay and that they would be killed in their country even though they wouldn't be, and they visit their countries even when they're here. So if you were so afraid and you were fleeing your country, why do you keep on traveling back to it? Why do you keep sending money back to it? And or claiming to be transgendered? Like it's just been, it's like enough is enough. And I'm going on all these tangents, but and so the Canadian culture, our Canadian national identity is being has been completely impacted. I don't even think there's any way of coming back from it, just based on like the stats and our population growth and where it's coming from, and like the push again for like hundreds of thousands of more homes a year. That again is that's not helping anyone. There's going to be people shredding more trees to build these houses, going again into protected lands, whether it be indigenous lands, I don't know, or not, or whether it be heritage sites, just like right behind my home, like a heritage site that was not supposed to be touched, protected lands, cemeteries, national parks, wildlife preservation areas. We're already doing this. I've been warning people for years. This has been accelerated. And this was even when the average was like, I think 200,000 homes a year, which again, like the more you build, the more people that are occupying these homes are not Canadian born, respectfully. And again, not people that are integrating into our societies. And for so many different reasons, because of that inability, it's causing a lot of tension, friction, frog in a pot type stuff, right? And causing more radicals and more domestic terrorism, which I've been talking about, for a while. But I'm saying it's like absolutely this year is going to be, it's going to be through the roof, and unless we do something about it, it's going to keep going up. This is why I can't believe people voted in this cabinet. I'm saying that the people within the House of Commons now, the people that keep on getting somehow elected, they are pushing ideologies, they are pushing policies and bills and things like that that are absolutely counterproductive, at the very least, right? Like look at what they were doing through COVID. Just remember Russia, Ukraine. Remember all of these things. Remember what they've done. And we re-elected these numpties in. And so from there, Mark Carney was able to select people from his Liberal Party, because again, the people that he voted in to be members of cabinet, they're like, if not all, I think Liberal. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to re-look into that. But out of these positions, and a lot of repeat people, and people being shuffled in that again were pushing very harmful bills and policies that were I don't even know if we can get I don't know if we can even get out of it, especially with like a Daniel Smith, and Pierre Poilievre, like really need to push for some kind of an election. I don't know, and some vote of non-confidence once Mark Carney's financials come out, and a lot more stuff being exposed about him and his past. I think we could possibly like force him to resign, but then again, who would take his place?
Nation within a nation.
Or would he be open to actually listening to people that are actual experts and put his ego aside and risk severing all the ties with his business partners and his elite class friends and family that he's been chumming with for decades, his entire life, and actually do what's right for Canada in our country, and what's in our best interest? Because everything that he's talking about, it's actually still yet again counterintuitive, and so he's not listening. And is it because he doesn't want to listen, or is it because he honestly just doesn't know what he's talking about and is very uninformed?
But we're constantly begging white people, let me have your job. We should create jobs for ourselves and say, the hell with the white man.
The plan was brought into this province to take away the efforts from minority groups from dealing in the political changes that are necessary in society. Racism destroys the energies of society. Racism destroys the initiatives of the people.
Well, I can't be opposed to racists because I'm a member of a certain race, the black race. So I am a black racist myself. So to be opposed to a racist means to be opposed to my own self.
What do you think of white racists such as the Klan?
White people have a right to be racist if they want to be racist. But I'm not going to kiss their bum or their rectum trying to beg for their favor.
I'm a positive racist. I'm working in the interests of my own people.
just as a person who works for the interest of the
Yeah, and
of
he's
the
really
black
allowed to do that.
races is a racist. A member of the National Black Coalition, working for his own race's interest, he's a racist. A member of the B'nai B'rith, who's working for the interest of Jewish people, well, he's a racist for Jews. A member of the Korean Businessmen's Association is a racist because they're working for the interest of the Korean race. Not even they're not Chinese. There's a Chinese Businessmen's Association,
Well, I
which is a
mean,
racist organization.
the B'nai B'rith. Which one of those organizations has caused the most harm and death?
The interest of Chinese. There's many organizations which are racist in nature, and yet the public doesn't realize this. There's nothing wrong with being proud of your own race.
One of our tasks is to put pressure on behalf of the overwhelming majority of citizens in this city who are not racist, who have no interest in being racist, to press our government officials and representatives to ban the Klan and outlaw fascism in this country and city.
Whites want to maintain white purity with or without the Klan's presence.
I
And
don't think
these
it should
people
be.
are talking
There's no
about ban
use.
the Klan. They should ban their own damn selves. They are just as much racist as the Klan.
What do you think of the anti-Klan rally in Toronto 5 weeks ago?
Well, I know it was run by communists, and so does everybody else. What else is new? Communists hate Klan. To me, if I was an ordinary man on the street and somebody's, with a red flag comes up and yells, "Let's go to the anti-Klan demonstration and kick those fascists out," and what first thing I do would be burn his red flag, kick him where it hurts, and run down and join the Klan. Because if the commies hate the Klan, then I'm all for the Klan, and I suspect most Canadians would be.
Racism exists in the police force of this province, in the police force of this city. We see the killing of Albert Johnson. We must ask ourselves if banning of the Klan alone can deal with racism. But that is a beginning.
Naturally, they're going to want to throw this kind of thing up. The Reds, they want to throw it up because that way they can get all right-wing groups banned. Maybe tomorrow they can get Joe Clark banned. Maybe tomorrow they can get the Orangeman banned. Maybe the next day, who knows?
Racists and fascists have no right to speak or organize. Racists and fascists have no right to speak or organize. Racists and fascists.
I think in a democratic society, they should have the right to organize and to speak out against the Klan, but in an intelligent manner. They should debate with the Klan.
Debate would be good because see, what you're getting here is like the extremes. You're getting the extremes, the most radical, and it can absolutely influence people to join these organizations and become just as extreme or more. And it's just all very interesting how, like, in a free country, technically they have the right to free speech and to peacefully demonstrate or protest. But and these things can also incite, again, emotional response in people, aggression, and fights and things like that, and it can escalate into riots. And I've talked about this for years, that we need to be wary of this stuff. That there are also oftentimes plants and people within that are what you would call feds, and they are there intentionally to perpetuate this narrative, and because they know they're protected, and so they can get as extreme and radical as they want and put innocent civilians at risk of being radicalized and doing things that would be considered to be illegal, and then they get away with it, and then it reinforces a bias, and again, it's just the same cycle that continues. And so I absolutely think within these organizations there are people that work in the government, unfortunately, and this is what I've been saying, that we need to stop doing this. That is not what works. I have worked with so many different organizations within the covert operations industry within Canada, because there's multiple different layers to this, and these people are heroes. These are necessary jobs, and a lot of good information is you're able to get access to, but you're not supposed to be the one that is radicalizing people or reinforcing or escalating these movements for your to make it into something that it shouldn't be, right? Like, you shouldn't be trying to make it into a riot. There shouldn't be role players and crisis actors hired from within government and outside of government to escalate these things. This is not the job, right? So even during the Coots case, I talked about this. These RCMP women that were acting as honeypots. I'm not saying that your job wasn't important, but what you did was you reinforced a lie, alleging that these people were attempting to murder RCMP, like, egregious. and went to jail for this, and no bail and things like that, but escalated things, right? They played the victim, like the innocent, cute girl, approach, and like, oh, save me, protect us, and again, and that's why I think that there was no recordings, which you should have recordings, in order to prove what these women were alleging, again, these RCMP officers, and so it became such a friggin' clown show. And despite people's opinions on Rebel News, there are people like Robert Krychek. So yes, people are like, it's hit or miss if people like him or not. But I will say I'm going to give him props, because he's one of the only people that reported on Helen Bruce on her case and the Coots trial. And so he flew a lot. He was really, really busy, and he was sharing accurate information and trying to temper emotions and things like that within Canada, because a lot of people were listening to the left-wing media for how they were getting their interpretations of what was going on at the trials. There was so much propaganda. But anyways, I'm going on all these tangents, but
Action against racist and fascist violence.
January 25th, 1981, Yonge Street, Toronto.
Every day, maybe 4 or 5 hate calls. People who disagree with us so violently that they want to blow up one of our houses or shoot some of our people. And they accuse us of being violent. It's absurd. Of course, we don't take this seriously.
Jam to go the other way.
it does sound like this KKK organization, at least the people that are speaking, it's more about being proud of their own national identity and their own race, and bringing attention to, it sounds like he hates communism though. That's very clear. And so there are people of all, there are multiple different skin colors that are communists and vote in communism, and different religions, etc. And communism being, again, like the most lethal organization there has ever been, and giving them so it sounds like they hate them, and it's because they also blame communists for like the mass murder of, what are you saying, like 60 million white Christians within Europe and internationally. And so it's just speaking to that. And so it's not even just about skin color, because again, he's calling out different skin colors that were responsible for certain things, but he's also calling out certain religions more specifically, and government systems. So it actually seems like top on the list is government systems, like communism, and then religious groups, but very closely tied to communism is what he's sharing, and then skin color being at the bottom of that. And so very interesting.
Plan. If we're shot at, we shoot back. If there's a wrong, we right it. And if it takes guns to do it, as it does in national wars, international wars, sometimes it takes fire to fight fire.
According to members of the Freemasons, part of the Scottish Rite, and so yeah, that's where the first Freemason building was built in Scotland, and it was in fact founded by black men. So I haven't read about that. I have heard that. I've gone down that rabbit hole for who financed like these buildings, and it seemed to be from like people that were part of the like the elite class is what you would call it, and like funding the building of it and establishing it, and then throughout other countries as well, expanding outwards. And so there's multiple different Freemason buildings all throughout Canada and the US, and even Washington. Like he was a Freemason, proud of it, and there are incredible people, by the way, that are Freemasons. I've said this before as well. I've looked into so many different occult groups, and it's very interesting. And yeah, and I know guys that are Freemasons, and they're great, and I share their work. I share their content. Like even Josh Bigger, I think he's anyway. And but there are people from within that organization as well that get recruited, and are the ones that go to the Bohemian Grove celebrations, rituals, or the ones that go to the Bilderberg organizations, for example, EU, the Trilateral Commission, etc. And so, which again, like it's not just Freemasons that are part of these organizations that are causing like all the divide and writing the scripts and the narratives. And so, to blame any of these mass atrocities on any specific group, to me, is absolutely factually untrue.
Fire.
Well, of course, I cannot justify every act of violence that anyone has participated in. In some cases, violence was met with violence. We defend ourselves. And if there's any violence, it's done.
That is, yeah, that's very, very interesting. So if you read what I said, I did go through what you wrote about the Klan. This is Johnny Death. It's just impossible to join without your identity and ethnicity being well known. They literally carry a photo ID from the Klan. Yeah, so a lot of these organizations do where you need to prove your genealogy and your lineage in order to become accepted. And for some of these groups, it's like many generations down the line. And so, like, it doesn't surprise me. And so, yeah, so these guys on either side of these groups, black skinned or white skinned, they seem very intelligent. They seem very well spoken, and like I'm not disagreeing with a lot of what they're with a lot of what they're saying. Like I'm totally agreeing with a lot of what both of these men are saying. So, and again, same thing with the Freemasons, and yeah, there's a perverted elite billionaire class that are fudging it up for everyone.
Purely in a self-defense manner. There have been other acts of violence which have just been done by people who do not represent the Klan. If we want to condemn an entire organization because of an actions of a few individuals or a few people, then let's attack all the Christian religions because of the Salem witch burnings or the Spanish Inquisition. Let's not be hypocritical here.
What does the cross burning ceremony mean to you?
To me, it means the power is going to come out of a burning cross. When the cross is lit, you can see that power. And anybody that sees that power, as you've seen them driving downtown or driving past the street here, when they seen that power, they stopped.
The cross lighting was used in the past when they did not have electricity. So, of course, they had a fiery cross. It's just a tradition among the Klansmen. And I don't think that there should be laws outlawing tradition. I think that's one of the things that kept the white man alive and gave him his sense of identity as the tradition of the past. And today we use the robes, again, in the sense of tradition.
Dear Lord, we thank you for all the good white people that came out here tonight to show Satan and all of his powers, all the money, all the gold, all the oil, everything he got in the world. He's still got some rebels right here. They're going to do their utmost to save the world from the satanic Jew and keep Christianity and the white race
there you go.
alive and well.
Oh my God, he said it. Oh, this is going to get banned on YouTube. The satanic Jew. There are people of other religions. Let me be clear. A lot of what we would call Christians, or people that come from like the Christian background, cultural background, that are also like followers of like these satanic occult groups, or Luciferians, or the Rosicrucians, or the Illuminati. Like even within the Zionist movement that people consider to be like very radical, there are more Christian Zionists than Jewish Zionists. And so again, I think we're just putting too much onto one group and not seeing that there is some hypocrisy there, like respectfully speaking. So even with what's going on in the US, like all this propaganda that people are rightfully calling out, and these psychological operations, these literally started during this era of life by Nazis, literal Nazis, Nuremberg 2.0, convicted, charged, crimes against humanity, were able to join the American government and so many different government organizations. We're talking MK Ultra, this obviously through Operation Paperclip, that Annie Jacobson really breaks down really well, and she gives names like Werner von Braun and Schreiber and Ambrose and so many others, and working within key organizations, NASA, Disney, Paramount. So we're talking a lot about the media, but we're not talking about the organizations like in the military contracting organizations that work within the U.S. And internationally that have also been hijacked by these people, right? And it's very so yeah, with like the space programs, the moon landings, the Challenger explosion. There's just so much, and yeah, so I think that just people have like such a blind side that they're not seeing that the Operation Paperclip Nazis were largely non-Jewish. There were a few that were, but most weren't.
For all time to come. Amen.
But certain groups did have an unfair, not an unfair, but they had like the wealth gap was very significant. So when people have a lot of money, these are the people I'm talking about, the perverted billionaire types that have been like writing the scripts for generations. Yeah, they transcend all of these organizations and groups and religions. They don't subscribe to any of them. They just manipulate them and create them, design them, implement them. And then the solution, which is worse than the problem itself.
There are at least 750 to over 1,000 people here. The Committee for Racial Equality informed the Attorney General Roy McMurtry to be here so that we could make our requests and our positions clear. I have just been told that he's out of town.
Yeah, I even made a video calling Ezra Levant out. I don't like doing it because he shares a lot of good information as well. And he is a smart guy. He does seem to be a genuine guy coming from a good place, but he has such a blind spot for a very specific community, and it's not helping. And it seems to me at this point where I just don't understand why there's not more people on the right calling this stuff out. Like, we need to call our own out, just like there's Democrats that are calling out their own. People on the right should be calling out their own respectfully, and because it's not helping. It's really just pushing the same agenda over and over again. And so yeah, he disappointed me too. I had donated to Rebel News, a few times in support of, because they put their own money in to travel to report on, like, for example, the Helen Bruce case, the Coots trials, and other important events that that weren't being covered properly. And so yeah, I had a lot of love for him at one point, but anyway, if he'd be willing to have me on his show, despite me even doing a video on him and tagging him and calling him out on it, then I would absolutely do it. Anyway.
People like McMurtry, the Christian Zionist, would love to get rid of the Klan with the excuse that they're violent and have broken a law. We must bend over backwards not to break any law.
They are recruiting. They're recruiting right now, whether we ignore them or not, at Young and
So it's very clear that they don't want to break any laws. Okay.
That's at the Eaton Center. They're recruiting at high schools during recess time. They're focusing on young children. And you're telling me that we should ignore them and they'll go away? They didn't in 33, and it is relevant what they did in 33.
See, this is where, like, they lose me. Like, don't involve the children. Don't involve the children. Don't be like the government. Like, you don't own the kids, right? The parents should be teaching their kids, and then once they're adults, they can make their own decisions. Like, I don't.
To 1980.
The government claims it does not have the authority to get rid of it.
The government has the authority to do it. There is a federal criminal code of Canada. The law is very clear. It stipulates that the dissemination of racial hatred is an indictable offense punishable by 2 years in federal penitentiary.
I've been through these hate literature trials before. I've been acquitted. I know the ropes better than these communist preachers.
I do not endorse the Klan, but if this is a free country, I would rather say that they should at least be allowed to come out into the open so people will know who they are instead of outlawing them and chasing them underground.
In Canada, there's only the Canadian Knights, the Ku Klux Klan. In the United States, there are actually over 300 different clans. We don't get any money from the United States at all. We receive all our funds from donations from whites or from companies, or we get it just through our membership.
Or from organizations like George Soros, respectfully, or Bill and Melinda Gates, that want to fund these movements because they know they can get out of hand and cause further division and hate. I called this out in 2019, and then I didn't get asked back on global TV when they were trying to paint people within the Canadian Armed Forces as white supremacist right-wing types, because they were involved at very low level in I think it was the Proud Boys or whatever it was, and but anyway.
How do you personally make a living then?
Well, the Klan doesn't pay any salaries to myself or any of the other full-time people. I make a living through various investments that I have, which I planned at least 5 years ago, and I may have to work a couple of days a month tending these investments. Other than that, I dedicate my entire life to white nationalism. I think Mr. Dildy speaks on the behalf of the average black man in Toronto and, in fact, all of Canada. I think that the well-known Negro leaders in Toronto do not speak on behalf of the average black man.
And national director of the Klan.
Would you please tell me your opinion of him?
Yep.
I think.
Unfortunately, they're absolutely owned. They're recruited, whether they know it or not. Like if you look at my past videos for years, and I think that now again, there's more appetite for people to understand what I was saying at that point. That's why I like going back to my older videos because, anyway, because it just keeps on getting reinforced, and the more it comes out and gets exposed and brought to light. And I do agree with you. With they gain fringe rights and powers, yeah, they become. And then even when they get arrested, like there's even intervention there where they, like there's no charges. There's like they're just let out, just like Charles Manson and countless others that I can Lee Harvey Oswald, etc. And so yeah, it's just very interesting. And they recruit civilians and people within multiple different government organizations, past and present serving. And this is international control as well, right? So like the people that are funding these organizations, it's really hard to refuse money when it's a lot of money, right? That could really, really help. And but then again, like the more movement or traction that is gained, again, like the more there is a risk of again more people being radicalized and doing more extreme things in order to get more funding because it's reinforcing these bad behaviors. And then they escalate, just like Universe 25 stuff, right? And Stanford prison experiments, and so many other scientific behavioral experiments that have been conducted. Humans are very easily manipulated into doing really bad things. Even people just off the street, random innocent civilians. When you put some kind of a badge on someone or a white lab coat, we give people like inherent trust, even when they say press that button to shock that person to death, right? And so judge not lest you be judged. And if you have not been challenged, then anyway.
He is a dedicated man towards the preservation of the white race. Now, so long as that means not at the destruction of the black race, he's all right. But just so he does not, destroy me in any way. I know what he's talking about. I understand that he wants to maintain white purity. That's fine. I want to maintain black purity. I don't. Many black people don't want to integrate with white people anyway. What's the big deal about integrating with white folks? Like, who are they?
Why can't we all just live peacefully?
I mean, this integration bit, I'm not for that.
The reason we oppose integration is because it simply doesn't work. When it didn't work the first time through voluntary measures, well, the government said, okay, if integration doesn't work, we'll try forced integration, more integration. And that's akin to saying, well, if a person is suffering from a certain poison, we'll give him more poison, and maybe that'll help him. Well, all it does is kill him, and that's all it's done to the American cities through integration.
A white person has a right to love their own kind. But the mix-up has been that in the past, whites' love of whites has rendered the black man in a position of inferiority, suffering, slavery, and death. To ask a white man for equality, that means that I automatically say that I'm inferior. I'm saying that you don't need to ask the white man for equality. Who the hell is the white man to qualify me? I'm qualified my own damn self. You must understand that the white man collectively has treated the black man over a period of 400 years the worst that any race could be treated.
See, that's where there's a bit of misinformation that I'd like to be corrected, because throughout history, there have been advanced civilizations, and there's been like, natural and man-made resets, or whatever you're going to call it, where entire civilizations have been wiped out. And so like even the word slave comes from Slavic regions, because white-skinned people were the first slaves or that's where it originated from. Like the earliest known accounts, I'm saying that there's been slavery ongoing now since the creation of time, essentially, and it's still ongoing in a lot of places as well, including in Africa, where there's anywhere between 700,000 and 1 million slaves working there right now within the slave trades, and in China and in North Korea, you name it, in the Middle East, and in so many different capacities, and so for example, Europeans as well, the Irish, especially, there were many that were like forced to come to Canada and the U.S., and they were slaves. They were slaves. They were also sex slaves, like even with the French as well. Like I'll reiterate, and here to work. And so even if it was what you'd call indentured slavery now, like some kind of a some obviously accommodations and some food, right? But like work, right? And that has been completely wiped away from history. And so, and there's so much more I can talk about as well. And I don't even know where I was going with this, because there's just so much to unpack, even with slavery and atrocities that have been committed internationally for so like through so many different eras. And for him to just say that, oh, my specific race had it the worst, when I can give you even present day examples of like, and I'm absolutely acknowledging that the things that were done were awful, disgusting, like just so grotesque, and I will acknowledge that. I also look into other races that have also endured so much suffering, trauma, even at the hands of the government. When I talk about the whole Holodomor, where people, like, again, like they were starving, there was cannibalism. This was happening in North Korea as well. Human trafficking, including sex trafficking of children. This is still going on. Where they're even in China, they get children that are either born into slavery in China, but like from North Korea and other Asian countries, but like largely North Korea, where they're born into either sex slavery or to be like the online sex trade, whatever you want to call it, working like in so many different capacities, but as slaves. And then you've got the Uyghurs as well, and so just like there's just even present day what's going on even in Russia and Ukraine, and in the Middle East, in with what's going on in Israel and Palestine. And so again, like when we just considers ourselves to be the only victims within the world, like our world view is like we have been through the worst, we're the only victims, then I think it's so limiting. And so where I could give, like, I'll reiterate so many different examples throughout history, like based on so many different like religions, people, again, like the raping, pillaging, torture, etc., just because of not Protestants versus Catholics, for example, if you want those friggin' examples. I'm going on these tangents, but there's so much history that I'm trying to unpack in like one video that I've tried to explain over the years. And yeah, people really need to be more educated, I think, more than anything.
He is a criminal. He kidnapped black people from Africa. Kidnapping is a capital crime. And
also, I'm on this tangent, but it's the Brits actually did great things too at certain points. Touchy subject, but they actually are the ones that were on the seas off the coast of Africa, and they're the ones that ended the slave trade. They literally risked their lives on the sea. Lots died, okay, in order to try to end slavery and just try to stop people from Africa, Africans, leaders in Africa, that were actually putting these slaves, what you would call them, like on the coasts, close to the ports, and they were the ones that were putting them into these ships, ladies and gentlemen. And so, where is the reparations for the people that are still in Africa that are the ones that enabled this and supported this and still do it even present day? And then even with the Civil War, again, it was obviously not just about ending slavery. I know, again, another staged and planned creation in order for the elites to make more money. And but again, people died. White people died in order to end slavery, right? And so I don't understand why there's also not credit being given where credit is due, when there's so many other countries out there that, again, there's still slavery being practiced. There's still child brides, like over 40% of India, and there's still like female genital mutilation being practiced in like Egypt and the Middle East. Like so people like just spare me your victimhood now, like the victimhood card in America and Canada, unless you're an actual victim, obviously. Like I'm just saying, like just based off of past events, like when literally all of us can complain if we wanted to. And like even they feel the roi, like I had family from my French side that came to Canada, friggin' children as well, as part of the sex slave trade. You know, and so but I can't talk about that. I can't talk about the Holodomor or Christians because I come from like a more Christian cultural background, I'll say. But again, I don't subscribe completely to the religion. I believe this is another interpretation of the creation story that all different religions and cultures and civilizations have tried to um, create these creation stories, like how they you know attempted to interpret them and decipher them to the masses. And I think there's also intentional misleading data within these texts and scripts and books that keep us fighting against each other instead of learning the actual lessons of these books, which is how to access our higher levels of consciousness and at the individual level, so that we are perceiving reality like the most optimal reality, not only at the individual level but ultimately for the collective as well.
Uh, it's punishable by death. You know, he has murdered, lynched, robbed, and enslaved my people. Now, why should I want to integrate with the skunk?
Slavery still exists today in the African continent. It existed there for over 10,000 years. White people have participated in slavery, but white people ended slavery.
Oh,
and I don't think any Negro can ever say anything against the white people about slavery when they still have it existing in countries like Ethiopia and other parts of Africa today.
The first law of genetics says black is dominant and white is recessive. You know, which
See, again, not true.
The black race is.
It depends largely on what area of this earth plane you evolved from, or what are you going to call it. I wouldn't even use the word evolve, because for me it means different things. It doesn't mean that we came from different species. It means that like the melanin in our skin, in our hair, in our eyes, it like the sun's movement above us within the circular ring path, traveling through like the different tropics, through the seasons, depending on where you are in the world, because it's so like the sun and the luminaries. It's so important for us to get to have that sunlight. There's less melanin, so like there's more sensitivity to like the sunlight, because especially people in more northern regions where it's colder, you're able to absorb more vitamin D, and then and again regulate your circadian rhythm through sunlight. And when there's shorter periods of daylight and longer nights, especially in areas where it's colder, so you also like you can't be outside exposed to the elements as long as you can in more warmer regions. It needs to be fast, right? Like, because again, you have limited sunlight in order to help like regulate your body and your mind and your soul. And so people that have more melanin, more melanated, they function more optimally in areas that are hotter, because they're more protected from the rays of the sun. Where there's generally longer days and shorter nights, but longer periods of again like just really good weather where you don't have to worry about adverse weather conditions, and so more protected. So there's advantages and disadvantages based on how much sunlight there is within the areas that you are living in. And then also like like when the sun travels like the equatorial ring, or like travels like above certain regions. Again, like these are hotter climates as well, and I've shared that on different maps as well. More fertile areas, so again, it's more suitable for certain skin colors and eye colors and hair colors based on that. And so
superior.
I might do some videos on that.
According to genetics. You see, I think it's to the black man's disadvantage, because he dilutes his dominant characteristics when he intermingles with.
So I'll reiterate, it's not a recessive gene. This absolutely has to do with like where you evolved, like your ethnicity or whatever you want to call it, and how much melanin and collagen, et cetera, that you have within your within your body, within your skin, within your hair, within your eyes, and lighter skinned, lighter eyed human beings actually see much better in the dark. Like we're more sensitive to light because of how light refracts and scatters, etc. Like within the eyes. But at night we see much better. And there's even like a lot of like stories about these these light-eyed hunter warriors that again they were known for hunting in the dark and doing guerrilla warfare type tactics in the dark. Anyway,
with white people,
sick, degenerate. As far as I'm concerned, if any of my offspring ever married like that, I consider my children to be as my carrying on after I die in this world. And if any of them were to become mongrelized, if one of my children married a nigger or any other kind of different person, I'd shoot them for their own good and for mine. Because that would be a mistake for the rest of my life. I couldn't live in heaven knowing that one of my flesh and blood had just turned into a nigger.
Jesus Christ.
White people do not procreate their own sons as fast as other people do. The Chinese are the first and the black man the second. If it goes like this,
see, like
then the white race would become.
This is where like it makes me think that guy is like some kind of a government plant because like he just seems so comfortable saying disgusting things like that, where that's an actual crime, right? Like he's literally threatening violence, and anyway, it's not an actual crime, but it's really in the friggin' gray, man, and so with that comfort, like there has to be some level of him knowing that he's protected within by the government. And so like this is where again, like I don't know, this is just a theory, but I don't think that this is like a grassroots movement. This guy talking, I think he's absolutely someone that works within government. I don't know what area within government. I have an idea, but I'm going to do more digging and get some research. Again, like it's almost impossible to get information, especially this late afterwards. But this seems to me that he just seems too comfortable saying like the most disgusting things on, and especially on camera. Like, come on. So again, like this absolutely has to be some kind of propaganda narrative.
Extinct within.
And this is what makes people not trust the government.
Several hundred years.
We are now only about 13% of the world's population, if that. White people breed at about 1.5% rate increase per year, and you need 2.2% just to recover from your natural death rate.
Yes, brown-eyed people do, especially like I said, like during the daylight hours, they absolutely, generally speaking, have better eyesight than lighter colored eyes, and we have better eyesight at night. Yep. Facts.
We're an endangered species. We're dying out. Every generation, we're losing 1/3 of our people. It's disgusting, and yet no one wants to discuss it.
The people of the planet Earth are a family. It is the white man that seems to be the only stranger on Earth.
They do not advocate white rights. They advocate white supremacy. There is a difference. Talk to them.
We feel that we are different from the blacks and other non-whites, just as they are different from us. They have a right to their own culture and heritage, to be considered as individuals among their own race, just as we also do. So let's not talk in terms of being supreme or inferior. If I was going to Africa, I'm sure the black man would be way ahead of me in existing in his environment, just as most likely, and it has been proven in the past, the North American white is superior in a sense to the African in living, working, reasoning in the North American environment.
White people even have a different scent than black people.
Gotta be a Fed.
I mean, that's a uniqueness about them, as I have my own uniqueness about me. But we are different. We are part of the human race, of course, but we are different.
The former head of Ryerson, Walter Pittman, did a report and a study, and he said the situation in Toronto with regards to race is explosive. I'd have to absolutely agree with him. Dr. Ubali, the head of the Ontario Human Rights Commission, who about 3 months ago became a Canadian citizen, who was himself an East Indian, said there will be race riots within 5 years because of angry blacks, and he did not mention the Klan at all. Either did Walter Pittman.
they speak with certain truths, things in which the ordinary white person would not tell you, but believes the Klan will tell you.
The problem is that white people and non-whites cannot live in harmony because we're totally different and alien to each other. There is no fancy pie-in-the-sky answer. We must separate the races. That is the simple answer to it.
I'm not going to disagree with you on this either. I might have to make this a premium or a Rumble only at some point. Oh my God, I've had so many YouTube accounts deleted. But yeah, and this is by design. They're getting funded by like George Soros. They're getting funded by USAID. They're getting funded by Kamala Harris and Jay-Z and yeah, and it's all propaganda. And a lot of people, you know what? It's especially the youth that are very influenced by mainstream media. So Netflix, like their TikTok, Instagram, but like especially again like the music industry, the video gaming industry, like these are all like very much captured intentionally by design. They were created actually to control the narrative and the script and the culture and stuff like that. And so and it's gotten so out of hand that again it's going to take such an overhaul of like these industries and yeah, be very interesting, but not wrong. Like even with Cardi B, like she won't even let her own kids listen to her own music, right? But like how many millions or billions of people have listened to her trash songs, respectfully speaking. And you know, I don't care. And she was like and Beyonce and Oprah like propping up Kamala Harris. Like again, this is not helping people out. If these are the representations that are seen as like the best, like these are criminals and people that are part of like different trafficking rings. And yeah, it's by design. Like Thomas Sowell, like he's not getting properly represented. Denzel Washington, like he's incredible. Like these are people that that should be more the ones that we're seeing out there in the mainstream media. Thomas
They
Sowell.
may not be very large today. And that is exactly another reason why we're mobilizing the citizens of the city against them. It is in order to make sure that their potential growth will not occur, that before they achieve a serious and substantive foothold in our city, they will be expelled from our city.
It's an ideology. You cannot kick out an ideology. As far as the people are concerned, I'm born here in Toronto. Most of the Klansmen I know are born in Toronto or Vancouver or other parts of this nation. You cannot kick us out of this country either.
We're just starting, and by the time winter is over, we'll kick the sons of bitches out of this town. Yeah!
60 million people in the name of communism and communism's biggest force, equality. So the Committee for Racial Equality and other Communist Front organizations who attack us in the name of freedom of speech, they should be the last ones to talk.
Go. Okay. Okay, so you get in position. Start asking questions. Okay, first of all, I'd like to know what is your profession and where do you work?
I'm a professor of sociology at Ryerson Polytechnical Institute.
See, I oh my God, I love Candace Owens. Like she has no idea who I am, but like she's another person. Like I don't understand like why she's not more. Well, I understand why she's not more supported and propped up by people on the like on the right. It's because like she's sharing a lot more of the truth that that you know rhinos don't want to hear, or rhino influencers. Like I'm including obviously the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro and these guys into that as well. People that were supposed to be her friends completely abandoning her when she's been sharing the truth about so much stuff, and she's finally getting vindicated on so much stuff. But like she would be like a phenomenal for whatever political party she would align with, incredible at that job. And I don't know if she would be more influential within government or doing what she's doing now, because she gets so much information out there that I just think would be lost if she left that platform. But yeah, she's like a great role model, I think, for young Black women. And I hope that doesn't sound racist. I don't mean it to be. And so I'm saying there's a lot of people that you can be proud of they're just not being properly represented, and they're being, in fact, ostracized and slammed and being called anti-Semitic and so much. And it's all lies. Rabbi Shmuley is a friggin' porn selling, propagandist. That is not religious. His religion is money. And so yeah, all these people that are trying to like say that they're part of like this religion or this group, no, like you're like your God is money, and you're just a disgusting pervert, and you're not getting arrested because you're now above the law, because the law are people that you've hired to usher your agenda, and they get kickbacks and a lot of money and prestige to circumvent the actual law.
Toronto.
Okay, the Committee for Racial Equality is made up of about 30 different organizations, and the Communist Party of Canada is one of them. Would you consider yourself to be a communist?
Cut. It's over. The interview's over. Finished. Trevor. That's a low blow.
What's wrong with that?
Listen,
If we cut it,
I said cut. I am not a liberal.
you want it to cut? Cut it, Lenny. It's done. It's cut.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Out!
What's wrong with that question? It looks like you're hiding something.
We're not.
Hey, there is a huge difference between being a liberal and being a communist.
I'm a communist and fucking proud of it, and everybody knows about it.
Ooh.
Fuck you. Go somewhere else.
Ooh, I missed it. Wait.
Cut it, Lenny. It's done. It's cut.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Out!
What's wrong with that question? It looks like you're hiding something.
We're not.
I am a communist and fucking proud of it, and everybody knows about it.
Fuck you. Go somewhere else.
Yeah, Marxist communists, like they have infiltrated so many different systems, like even especially the education system, which is like the most profound and impactful, like Harvard, Johns Hopkins University, etc. And even Kamala Harris's father is a professor, or at least was a Marxist communist professor. And there's so many people that, again, like at the top levels of our government, even, that are proud Marxist communists that are under the guise of the Liberal Party or being played by them. I think that's over. So that was very interesting and a little uncomfortable at points. So on that note, I will leave it at that, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.